Okay, so David is a king and he's been anointed by God. So God has said and told him that like you're gonna be king. But the only one person who's standing in between that is the current king, whose name is Saul. And Saul is trying to kill David. So he's been hunting David for years, and David is like living in caves. And every day is a reminder to him that like, you know what, you're not there yet. And so Saul, who's the man who's standing between David and the throne, is literally passed out sleeping in front of David right now. And so all it's gonna take is one move for David to kill this guy. But David decides to walk away. And it's not because he's like a wuss or anything, but it's because he's very strategic. And so when Saul ends up dying, David, he doesn't rush taking over the throne. He first, prays to God and he's like, God, like, should I do this? And God's like, yeah, but only, go here. So he's only listening to God and moving on God's timing. And so 7 years pass before David actually ends up ruling over all of Israel. And if you're asking yourself why, it's because the foundation needs to be built before you're able to hold the crown. A really key thing to note is that David could have killed the current king, which was Saul, who was sleeping right in front of him, and then, fast tracked his way to becoming king. And when I thought about that a little bit more, it's like the same reason why I used to fail when it came to fitness. I would want the whole kingdom on day one. So I would see a shortcut, which is maybe like a crash diet, like a keto diet or whatever, or a 75-day challenge, like, 75 hard, or like this guy on Instagram being like, oh, you got to work out like twice a day. And I would think to myself that, okay, if I just push hard enough, I'm going to get to my end result faster. But the truth is that if you can't sustain the crown, you're going to lose it the second life gets busy, or the second life gets chaotic. And so in the story, David, he wasn't building just to get the throne. He was becoming the type of man who can hold on to the throne without the throne kind of like breaking him. And so that's exactly why I tried to build a system which doesn't give you like, quick, like a quick fix weight loss. It's more so it helps you become the type of man who can actually keep a lean body, a strong body, despite the season that you're in. And so by just focusing on the three things, which is like the PCT, so like protein obviously is like the daily fuel that kind of helps sustain you and sustain your muscles, sustains the weight loss, all that good stuff. The calories burned being the structure that you actually need to start moving without having to overtrain. And then the T, time in the gym, is like, the minimal repeatable plan that actually lasts. So you don't necessarily have to now rush the throne like David does. You kind of just build yourself into it. And so if you've been chasing like shortcuts, you're probably building a body or fast tracking yourself to build a body that can't keep the crown.